Welcome back, you guys. This is Mark with NCEngravers, and today we're going to be working on the Ruger Security 9. We're going to be doing an optic cut on this slide. Now, we typically do not work on the Ruger model platform. We're hoping to branch into that a little bit more as some of the requests unfold, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to start with doing an optic cut on a Security 9 because we have seen a lot of requests for this service, but we've never done it before. So we wanted to kind of take you guys through that. I had the opportunity of purchasing this slide online. Of course, this must have been someone's daily carry. We can see a lot of wear here and here, so this is probably a right-hand shooter. This is on someone's hip is my guess, where we're seeing a lot of wear, and of course we got some nose damage. So great opportunity to recondition the slide, do an optic cut on the slide, and just kind of show you guys overall what you can expect with a full project having an optic cut done. So a couple of things I want to talk about here is what can we expect when doing an optic on this exact model slide. Now, one of the things that you have to understand is the rear sight is going to have to be removed from the slide as a whole, meaning this is not going to go back on. There's not enough room here for an optic. There's not really enough room to put this up here or even recut for this rear dovetail. So we wouldn't recommend that. One of the other things to take into consideration is we're going to end up doing a Hollow Sun 407-507K for this build. It does have a built-in rear iron sight that should work fairly well with the front factory sight. So we're not necessarily going to be losing a rear iron sight because there is one built in, but we're also not going to be putting the Ruger sight back on. So it's kind of a new configuration, so to speak. So let's take a look at that optic. This is what you would see if you were purchasing a 407 or a 507K. They look the exact same. This guy is going to sit here, and of course you can see a little bit of room in the front, a little bit of room in the back. Now, once again, for those of you that are just curious, we do have a lot of questions that kind of come about when we do start talking about this work, and that is, hey, can I put my optic in front and can I keep the rear? No, you cannot. There's not enough room here. Would be hanging over into the barrel, and of course there wouldn't be enough room for the rear iron sight. So hopefully that answers that question. Now, one of the things we have to take a look at here is there's a little, I guess the best way to say this is we've got a dovetail, and then there's a little bit of a raised section here, and then it kind of goes back down to where it's flat. So that's kind of interesting because if you take a look at this as a whole, this lower shelf is actually lower than the top of the slide. Okay, so the top of the slide doesn't just go from the front to the rear all the way across. It comes all the way over to here, it hits the dovetail, it comes back up, and then it dips down. So this is a lower shelf. It's not uncommon. We do see this on a lot of the Smith & Wesson pistols that are out there. Of course, there's several, the CZ does the same thing on the CZP-10s. So it's not uncommon to see that. But what we have to make sure is that we're not just removing the rear dovetail. We do want to put the optic far enough back to cut into this lower section. So this entire section does get removed. It looks correct as far as how it's supposed to look for the part. So we're going to process that accordingly. This is a roll pin for the firing pin. Okay, so you can kind of see that here. I'm not sure if we're going to have to bob that down and cut that off yet. I don't know. I don't think we're going to find ourselves going far enough forward to hit the roll pin for the extractor. Once again, we will discuss this once we get it back off the CNC machine. But guys, one of the things that I thought we would just take you through is that entire process. So we're going to get over to the CNC. We're going to watch the cut work performed. We're, of course, going to drill it. We're going to thread it. Then we're going to come back and color it. This one was pretty heavily worn. You can kind of see that in through here. There is some pitting down in here. It's hard to tell because of the color tone, but this is some pitting here, and there are some dings on the front. So we're going to choose a color that would maybe hide those. A lot of you guys happen to have a finish that's very similar to something rough like this because Ruger doesn't use the highest quality finishes on their slides. So if you do have a weapon that's kind of discolored, starting to fade, starting to pit, and you're thinking about having something done, this might be a great opportunity to have an optic cut done. And then, of course, you guys will be able to see it here in the end after I've colored it, and we'll kind of see what still stands out as far as pits go. So, guys, let's jump over to the CNC work. Let's get that done. All right, guys, now that we've completed the cut work, we've added a little bit of color back to the slide. I want to first say it looks amazing in comparison to how we received the slide. And I want to just kind of take you through that process a little bit more. Of course, you guys had seen the optic cut. We drilled, we threaded, right? So all that stuff you had seen. I want to discuss what to expect or what you should expect when adding an optic to your slide. Okay, so first and foremost, the rear iron sight has been removed. The hole in the middle is the threaded factory hole for the screw. Once again, this is a roll pin hole for the firing pin. We did not have to cut that down. So if you look, let's see if we can get you somewhat focused here. If you look, it actually sits just lower than where the optic's going to be, so we're not going to see any interference with that. Let's just talk about the holes here for a moment. So a lot of times when you buy a different optic, whether you're buying a Romeo Zero, 407, 507K, maybe you're doing something like a Swamp Fox Sentinel, RMSC, they come with different screws. Most of the time they're going to come with a set of screws that's an M3. Also, additionally, sometimes they only come with a screw which is called an M4, which is like the Shield RMSC. And so one's a thin screw, one's a fat screw. Of course, we're going to include a picture. I want you guys to see what we're referencing. Most of the time, we will thread the slide for a thin screw. This gives us an opportunity to, if we strip a screw, if we have some sort of an issue in the future, we could always go back and reopen these holes up to an M4, and then, you know, we're good to go. We don't have to worry about, you know, destroying a slide or trying to repair a slide. It's a very easy correction. So in this particular case, because this was the first one that I had done, I wanted to run through the process of, can an M4 screw be done? So sometimes there are internal issues with the slide. You know, the thin screw will work, the fat screw won't work because it hit something. This is what we would call an M4 screw. This is, of course, the hollow sun. This is going to go on here. So this basically just fits in the socket. We don't get a lot of play as far as this way. We don't get a lot of play as far as back and forth. So the sockets that we cut are a direct fit, right? So it's not a universal socket. It does fit a lot of different optics in the same socket, but it is really designed for this optic and not an adapter plate or something along those lines. Once again, we cut about that deep. We're removing the existing dovetail off the slide. We're not causing any issues with going into the lower section where the firing pin is or anything like that. We have a nice alignment with the front. I doubt you guys will be able to see the dot on the optic, but you will be able to see the rear iron sight in alignment with the front factory sight. So I'm real pleased with that. That's going to save you money from not needing to replace this. And of course, if you get the right optic, this is built in into the rear of it. Guys, I want to take and just kind of throw the barrel and the spring in. I want to show it to you. If you're curious of what color this is, I haven't really given it a name. This was just a color that I had created. It's just a couple colors I mixed together. I've been playing with some stuff here lately, and I don't even know what you want to call it. It's iridescent bluish green something or other. Once again, I haven't given it a name, and I haven't really perfected that as far as what I'm happy with it yet. So this is what it's going to look like. This is a copper barrel. Okay, so this is copper on here. I want to just give it a little bit of an offset two-tone so you guys can kind of see that color, the color shift change in there. It's not a big change. It's got a little bit of a tone. It's almost like a iridescent mix instead of like an actual color shift. Once again, not sure we're going to offer it. It's just something wild that I had decided to do. Guys, this is kind of what it looks like here on the Security 9. I think it's pretty cool, honestly, for those of you that are looking to add an optic to your gun, but yet you haven't been able to find somebody that does the service, or you don't trust maybe the company that's doing the service because they haven't been around long enough doing it. So hopefully we've given you that confidence in placing your order. Hopefully we've answered all those questions that you may have. Once again, we would encourage that you follow along, share the content. Feel free to post a comment. Putting this down here for a second because I do want to make a note on something. When you have this service done, the rear sight comes off, and this is the screw. These will just be bagged and shipped back. We don't keep any of our customers' parts, okay? So once again, if you've got a new sight, you want to have us put the front one on, provide that. We don't charge anything. We'll go ahead and put that in for you at the same time, but it's not necessary to have, you know, a new front sight in order for this to work. That's just if you want to. So once again, these parts you can expect to be either in the box if you sent the optic, or just put it in a bag if you just put the optic in there. So once again, we would encourage you to provide the optic at the time of work. We can go ahead and get that installed. We can get that aligned with your front iron sight so we don't have any issues with trying to get that all set up. But guys, this is kind of what it looks like. Once again, subscribe, follow along. The content usually comes out a little bit earlier on Instagram than it does on Facebook or anywhere else. If you happen to have a question, something I've missed, skipped, feel free to leave a question if you're just not getting the answer, because I don't comment a lot on YouTube. I would recommend that you send an email. And then we can actually formally go through and be like, hey, what's going on? You know, what's the question? That may be anything from, you know, does my optic fit? Have you done, maybe what about this optic that's not in the drop down? Or I want to get additional work done. So what we are going to find is that we're going to be doing another video on this slide, and this was kind of just the first part of that. So we are going to be doing some cut work on the front, on the sides, and stuff like that. So we're going to go through that and show you a little bit more of what is offered. We did want to separate these out because we do see a lot of people that just want to get an optic, so we don't want them to have to be confused with additional work when they're only after a piece of work. So once again, guys, we do enjoy each and every one of you and all the comments and all the business that you send to us. We just want to take care of you guys like we know you, and want to make sure the work is processed out just like it's our own. Once it comes into our facility, everything's taken care of to the utmost, and then of course it leaves, and you know, that's why we have a 5.0 on Google. Everybody's super happy. Everything gets turned back in a correct amount of turnaround time, and just everything is like it's supposed to be, right? So you want to get the best quality service you possibly can. This is exactly why we put the videos out, and this is why we have a high rating on Facebook and on Google. So once again, if you need anything, just let us know, and we'll see what we come up with on the rest of this slide on that future video.